The elites are meeting in Davos this week, Trump being one of them. He spoke yesterday. There's a lot of video coming out from Davos. It literally is Davos drama 24/7. In fact, that was the title of yesterday's PBD podcast, Davos drama. Trump goes out there, goes up. He's calling out other countries. He's shitting on Gavin Newsom. Scott Bessent shitting on Gavin Newsom. They blocked Gavin Newsom from being able to appear at the White House room where I believe he was supposed to give a speech. So basically, Gavin Newsom flew all the way from California to Switzerland to give a speech that the Trump administration said, nah, you ain't going to give that speech, buddy. But that's not even the most interesting part for me. The most interesting part is what was uncovered by James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group over the course of the week at Davos. James O'Keefe went undercover with possibly the worst disguise ever. What's really crazy about these videos is that his actual his costumes have gotten worse and people are falling for it more. I don't understand how that works, but we should, take a look at that photo.
That's amazing.
He looks like,
but it makes total sense.
He looks like Julian Assange, Top Gun Julian Assange.
100%. And the more of a caricature you play, the better it seems to work out for you.
He looks like a sprocket. Like if he has a German accent, where is the party? Do you want me to touch my mom?
Party time, yeah.
We are just a couple beats away from him like putting on a Groucho Marx glasses and fake nose and just sitting down and getting people to spill
At
their
this
guts
point,
about
I think it would work. Now,
would work.
I see how some of these guys get caught up. It's a lot of horny dudes on dating apps that are trying to swipe right with a chick. Then the chick turns out to be some undercover reporter that has a purse with a camera in it, and they capture these people admitting to things that they should not be admitting to on camera. For instance, Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States of America, was caught on camera by O'Keefe Media Group investigative journalists talking about the thousands of hours of child rape videos that she had watched in the Epstein files. She did not disclose that publicly, and then O'Keefe Media Group had that video and forced the White House to make her come out and make a statement before they released the video. So these guys are doing the true work that the media should be doing, but they're not. And what James O'Keefe captured this week, he was at Davos and he was taping, apparently or reportedly, elites admitting to spraying sulfur to cool the earth quicker. If we have the video, let's play James O'Keefe at Davos.
So we invest in these technologies to assist with the warming climate, and the effect of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere will help block some of the warming, and the particles stay in the air for 1 year. So, and actually we're speaking to some of the airplane manufacturers and to see if they can emit some of our technology into the atmosphere to help with the global warming. That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, climate. I mean, we don't like to use the term climate engineering. It scares people, so we prefer.
Yes, but it's but for me, being an engineer, I think that's actually what you do. It's
yes.
You can have financial engineering. You can have, I'm sure, climate engineering, because it involves something that's more scientific.
Yes, exactly. You're an engineer. You understand. It's from Sweden, right? Yeah. So we don't like to call them chemtrails. We don't like to use this.
So what do you call it instead?
Well, we call it aerosol injection. Aerosol. It's kind of like little droplets.
Okay.
And the droplets form in the air, and they stay there for a year.
Yeah.
It's modeled kind of a mini volcanic eruption, actually.
Yeah. I mean, aviation fuels have some sulfur in them, so it creates some sulfur dioxide emissions naturally, and that does have a cooling effect.
Now, this guy, Kennedy Ritchie, who runs a company called For Air, spoke on stage, and he says on his website that he wants to, quote, decarbonize the aviation industry. He actually told me he was trying to eliminate contrails entirely, but then brought up cloud seeding.
A lot of the work actually came out of the military, so they do this all the time.
Have you worked with them at all?
No, because they're a little more closed door about their procedures.
You ever heard of sulfur dioxide?
Yeah.
You've heard of that? Okay. Yeah.
It's actually pretty cheap to do it. The ability to put sulfur dioxide there is actually a pretty cheap way to cool down the earth.
Oh, yeah.
So the opportunity for one or two people to just do it is impressive. He went a little further. He's like, it'd be interesting if the government start doing this over each other's territories on purpose. Like if we start getting weather modification as a government, either good or bad. The closest one I'm aware of is someone called the Airborne Snow Observatory. They do some more like weather, I don't want to say modification, but more like upper atmosphere weather monitoring is probably a better term.
Yeah. Now, according to the website Airborne, This is what this guy Richie brings up. Measures snow depth, snow water equivalence, provides highly accurate snowpack data, is a commercial spin-off of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory snow monitoring technology used to help water managers and scientists. Earlier today in this room.
You know, it's amazing. they mention these things like, oh, we're looking at using this and deploying it over other countries, as if that's not exactly what Operation Popeye was when they exacerbated the monsoon season during Vietnam. And then they the terminology. Well, they're not chemtrails now; they're contrails. Even though there's sulfur in planes that creates it. Doesn't everybody know that they're doing this already? Like the cloud seeding in Texas is a known, confirmed thing that they do it to increase rainfall during dry season.
The Saudis as well are experimenting with it. For weather modification technology has been out there and patented and experimented with, I believe, since like at least the 70s. So for anyone to try to deny that it's happening is crazy.
Well, the federal government denies it. For their part, they say that there's no way that there's any type of deployment of chemicals into the atmosphere. The NOAA and the EPA are clear. There's zero federal spraying or real-world testing of these chemicals. So the government's official stance is that this does not exist, despite the government also banning it. Florida last year in June, Governor DeSantis signed a law banning any release of chemicals into the atmosphere. So he's banning something that the federal government says isn't already happening.
What also bothers me about the Florida one specifically is if you look on the government websites, there's never been an approved geoengineering project ever in our state's history. So it seemed like it was all kind of theater to me.
When they say that the feds aren't doing it, what does that mean? I mean, the
private companies.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's like, and the
company.
feds were not involved in gain-of-function research. It was contracted out to third-party NGOs. So, all right, so the feds aren't doing it. Private companies are, or maybe they're doing it at the state level, which I think is confirmed, at least in Texas.
Well, Kristen Megan, she was from the U.S. Air Force. She was a whistleblower, and she was a bioenvironment engineer. And she came out and said that they do it all the time. She started recognizing shipments of barium and aluminum in really, really high volumes, and she blew the whistle, and she's gotten a bunch of trouble. She did an interview on Newsmax at the end of last year, too.
So there's two things here. Number one, if these people genuinely do believe the world's going to end because of this, they would take any action to prevent it. I don't believe that's what they actually think. I think they see it as a great method of control. But control is a great incentive to do it, too. It's very hard for me to believe that these technologies don't exist. Like you guys said, they're just going to deny.
Do you have... Okay, so it's... In Florida, it's very interesting. I know we have some photographs. My dad is obsessed with this. It's the weirdest thing, but my dad has more photographs of his dog and chemtrails than he does of the 6 grandchildren that he has, the 3 sons that he's raised, or his wife of 45 years on his phone. It's all chemtrails. But I've seen it myself. I've been sitting out in my backyard doing landscaping, and I've noticed that the sky above me is nice and clear. There's no clouds. Then I start to see planes. I start to see what they call our contrails, or some people call them chemtrails, but contrails. And then I start to see that the sky starts to get cloudier. Yeah. And it's not like the normal bushy clouds that you see. Like, remember in Mario, in the game where you could jump up and you had all those big white clouds?
Cumulus cloud or something
cumulus
like that.
nimbus.
And then you can jump on the clouds.
Yeah.
No, but look, I've heard the explanations. They do make sense at certain times of year. It's a little bit drier, so the planes create condensation that disperses, and it has an effect, whether or not it's an intended beneficial secondary effect or the intended, if they're adding stuff to commercial flights. I mean, in Florida, I see it as amazing. You can play tic-tac-toe with the contrails in the sky. But it's happening. I mean, look, in Texas, they confirm that it's happening. The goal is to increase precipitation in targeted areas by 8 to 20% to aid groundwater recharge. Do you remember after the river flooded and killed all those kids, the company that was in the spotlight because they were doing cloud seeding said, oh, we do it, but we didn't do it that week because it might have exacerbated the floods. We did it the week before. They admitted this.
Exactly. I was just going to say the same thing. The CEO did an interview on Sean Ryan where he said straight up,
we do it
the week before.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think there is a place for this technology I mean, if the rest of the world's going to develop it, weaponizing it's number one.
Abu Dhabi and Dubai, like what they do over there, they do some like cloud seeding operations to make it rain.
And then occasionally flood the shit out of
right.
everybody.
They're in a desert. There's no
Miami.
drainage.
You went to Operation.
They dump it everywhere.
Sorry, you went to Operation Popeye, and I think about Iran right now. They're in a drought, and like all eyes are on Iran in a bunch of different ways, whether it's for the protesters, whether it's their economy. Like, what if we were doing some of this to affect the weather on the other side of the globe? I think it's a possibility.
Do you guys have a problem with it?
Yeah.
Global dimming is back in the 70s, and I'm old enough to remember this because I was young in the 80s. National Geographic said it was the biggest concern was, I don't know if they called it global dimming then, but they called it like a return to the ice ages. And the reality is, ice ages are more destructive for humanity than climate change in the hot sense.
There's an episode from a long time ago, The Simpsons,
Mr. Burns.
where Mr. Burns builds a thing that tracks the sun so that no one gets light and they have to use the energy company more.
That's when he got shot by Maggie.
Yeah,
Maggie
exactly.
did it, by the way. It was Maggie.
I'm not super educated on this, but aren't ice ages a byproduct of the atmosphere getting warmer and then the polar ice kind of melting and then more ice?
It's cyclical, and then there could be like massive volcanic eruptions, like I forget what it was called. I don't want to say El Nino, but I'm not sure. Well, they erupt and then they create 2 to 3 years of decreased global temperature, and then you get the idea. Oh, if a volcano can do it, well, we could do the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's just particulate gets up into the atmosphere, it blocks the sun, the Earth cools as a result, it freezes over, particulate disperses, we get more sunlight through the ozone, and it warms everything back up. Anyone who has observed history for long enough can tell you that the Earth has gone through these cycles, which is why, like Viva just said, in like the 80s and 90s, they were telling us, you know, it's an ice age, global cooling.
We got 10 years to live.
Now it's global warming. So, of course, they dropped that narrative and just moved to climate change. Yeah. Which it's not getting hotter or colder. It's just doing something. There's climate outside and we don't like it, so we got to control it.
It's also crazy when they're like, it's the hottest summer we've had in 7 years. We're going to die.
In recorded history, which
and they
goes
keep saying
back up.
every 10 years we're going to die.
Okay, is anybody here native to Florida?
Yes.
You're native to
Yeah, I've
Florida?
lived here my whole life.
I'm not.
1 out of 5. That's great.
Nobody's native
Connor,
except
so
for-
you've lived here. I've lived here since 2014. I have noticed, but I've also moved further south in the state. I spent 5 or 6 years living up in Tampa, 5 years living in Cape Coral, and now I live down in West Palm Beach. So I am further south now. There's a thing called the coconut line. Have you ever heard that? Where it's Sarasota to Tampa. The trees will grow coconuts up until that, but then they don't grow above that because the temperature's a little bit colder. I have noticed over the 12 years that I've lived here that the summers are getting more and more unbearable. That being said, I've also gotten fatter and fatter and fatter. So it may not necessarily be the environment, it may be me that just is enlarging as opposed, but for Connor, you've been here your entire life. Have you noticed a trend of the summers getting more unbearable in Florida?
So, I mean, this is the thing. Florida summer humidity, once it hits a feels like temperature of 90, it doesn't matter. Well, like, it's 93 as opposed to 95. It all feels the same. It's all miserable. Everybody's dying. You try to be a kid. You run around outside. You step barefoot on hot asphalt that's been cooking under the sun. You will burn your feet to a crisp. But I remember sometime, I think I was in 7th, 8th grade, the hottest temperature I had ever heard. It was 102 that summer.
That's
on
crazy.
one particular day. That wasn't the feels like temperature. That was like the actual temperature.
Yeah, that's cooking eggs on the hood of your car.
But like additional pavement, cement, infrastructure will
And if you look at where they do a lot of these recordings, this is especially bad in the UK, where they really are incentivized to push a climate change narrative. But they do it everywhere, where they take their temperature readings to tell you how hot it is, right near airports, highways, places with a lot of pavement, a lot of reflected sunlight to make it even hotter. So it's really hot, but I can't say it's any worse than it used to be.
In Canada, I've noticed certain fauna, animals that I didn't notice when I was a kid. Now, like a lot more snails, a lot more actual rabbits, and a lot more. I don't want to say frogs, but I've noticed some animals that I didn't notice when I was a kid, and I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention. But I presume it's getting a little warmer, and we're coming out of an ice age, so it's normal that should be.
But there's a natural cycle to weather. What are they called? The Milankovitch or something like that? They're like these long-term cycles, and the idea there's also not just one form of cycles. There's like mini cycles, large cycles. So you might see deviations in weather over 5 to 10 years, but then over 100 years, those deviations are expected. You'll find a more consistent baseline. Then over 1,000 years, and humans have not been measuring weather that long, considering the age of the Earth. We haven't been measuring billions of years back, so we don't actually know what weather cycles actually look like long-term over 10,000, 20,000, 30,000.
And summers might be hotter, but then we just got a dusting of snow in Pensacola and Tallahassee this weekend.
It's not even that they get hotter. Fine, more greenage grows. Fine, it emits more oxygen, and then you have the cycle, fulfilling itself. But the reality is, it's better off being a little bit warmer than it is being a little bit colder because we won't be able to cook in this. As far as the expose is good, I still don't understand how people are idiots and talk as though they're not always being recorded. Although these guys are really not saying anything proprietary, confidential, secret. they're just flapping at the lips, basically saying what we all know already. So, good on James for being out there and dressing like a sprocket.
What now? I want to move on in just a minute. Question for you guys: are you more upset that the government tells you that this is not happening and you see that it is happening with your very own eyes, or would you rather have a say? Like, would you be for chemtrails or geoengineering if we got to put it towards a vote? Like, hey, we're going to spray when the temperature gets above this to be able to bring the temperature down to this. Would you be okay with that, or are you guys against any type of geoengineering whatsoever? Drew?
I'm entirely against it because of the chemicals that they use to do it. Like the aluminum has a bunch of thyroid disruptors and things like that in it. Like all of these are poisons, and they take samples in Florida of the soil and of the rain sometimes, and you could see elevated levels of chromium and aluminum, and they're toxic. So at the end of the day, it's bad.
I didn't know all that, but now that Drew said it, I'm 100% on board with Drew.
Yeah,
I've just been
before Drew
educated.
told me that, so I'm not going to fact check it. If you're right, then I'm against it. But if you're wrong, then I'm all for it, because it
That's where
would
I'm
be
at.
nice to have a nice summer day where it's in the 90s and to not feel like it's 120.
Oh,
in
quit
Florida.
being
Well, not
babies,
only
go to
that,
the
though, if
beach.
there is a serious drought and we have a way to correct it and there's lives on the line, but again, if it's doing something completely toxic to the environment.
It's a solution to a problem like bringing in the cane toads to Australia to eat the grubs. You don't mess with nature. Although bromium does sound like the coolest of all chemicals. Like, bro,
I eat bromium for
bromium,
breakfast.
These things tend to have a
Bromium cereal is
cascading
a great
effect
name.
because, okay, we made it rain one time, but like James O'Keefe was saying in that video, these particles stay in the air for a year
Yeah.
and continue to have long-term effects. And okay, so like the flooding in Texas, the company was like, hey, we were doing our cloud seeding 2 weeks ago. We couldn't possibly have
conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. Like how dare you assume that because it was 2 weeks ago and not a week ago that we're responsible for this flood? So these things tend to have a cascading effect. And how do you democratize that? Okay, so people in Texas vote, yeah, we're all on board with cloud seeding. Well, those clouds blow out of Texas into a neighboring state. That state doesn't want chemicals raining down on them. They don't want flooding. Maybe the United States is fully on board with it. Canada doesn't vote for it. Mexico, let's be honest, Canada would probably vote for it.
Canada, 100%.
Maybe Mexico doesn't want it. Like, unless all of humanity is somehow pulled on this, and then what is it? Basic majority, 51% of the Earth wants chemicals in the sky. The other 49% don't. So we're going to do it just because, basic majority. There's no way to have a vote on it.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. The question here is, should we be developing it because other countries will be developing it, and then they'll weaponize it against us if we have no control over the environment?
So that sounds like the Wuhan gain-of-function theory.
I'm not arguing
Also
that. I'm
sounds
just asking you.
like AI regulation as well. Yeah, sure. We could sit here and say we're all going to play by the same rules, but behind the scenes, who knows what China's going to do? Who knows what?
Well, I mean, if
we'll
people
do.
can control the weather and we can't, that's a massive advantage for those countries.
Is there any other country in the world that is more scientifically?
China.
China is more.
I mean, come on, we all know the Jews control the weather already. So
Space
So
lasers
Israel,
and
but
weather.
outside of Israel,
They're working on making it rain money, but I'm going to hell. Okay. No, that.
What are we looking at here? These are photos of Drew.
These are my
Drew,
backyard across a 90-minute period. So I was doing some yard work, like you were saying, and I saw them. Like, it was clear skies, and I saw a couple go across, and then I was out there, like I said, for about 90 minutes. And this is from the same position. You can see the tree on the left-hand side. It's on the side of my house, and it was just to display how it happens.
Over 90 minutes?
Yeah, that was across 90 minutes in my backyard.
Bro, my dad does that while he'll be driving and looking at chemtrails, and he'll stop paying attention to the road to take photos of the chemtrails. And it's like, Pop, what are you going to do with that if you crash into a pole? Now we have a phone filled with the sky photos, but no Pop.
honestly, that pole was probably planted there by the deep state. He was getting too close.
Didn't want to get the answers out there.
All right, so we'll go around the horn. So everybody against, just say yay or nay for geoengineering. I am a nay based on Drew.
Yay for research, but nay for deployment.
Connor?
Nay.
Nay, Drew also.
Viva Fry.
Well, it's a hard nay.
Hard
obviously,
nay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next story. So what's the next story that we
wait.
have here?
All right.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say there was another thing in that story that was very relevant, which is how they're admitted in video that their goal wasn't to get rid of carbon emissions, but to essentially tax them and find ways to make money off of them and to make it a financial thing. So
That was actually the thing the whole time. They found a way to monetize carbon, and carbon is the only thing that was utilized in like every behavior that you have and every piece of merchandise that you've ever purchased. And that was the whole idea: is they were going to have carbon markets.
that's the bigger story there, I think. That's the scary thing.
It's the reason for the 15-minute cities and the carbon emission taxes and the daily allowances that they're trying to implement all over the place. The congestion pricing in New York. It's all about money.
A good thing is, though, is it's not a topic at Davos this year. If you go and watch all the conferences, I've watched a ton, and I have not heard climate change come up hardly at all.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.